So we will be starting in a couple of minutes. So just by 3 we will start. So just wait for a couple of minutes and then we will begin.
Okay.
So good evening all. So today we are in the 48th session of the Praktani Adda, and it's a special one. Usually we have Praktani brothers amongst us. Today we have a monk of the Ramakrishna Mission Order to enlighten us on a very important topic of mental well-being. So mental well-being is a new challenge for the 21st century, and we are seeing more and more emphasis from all sides of whether it is governments and NGOs on this aspect of human health. And one aspect that has been ignored for many decades. So we have suicides happening in universities, in cities amongst the students and youth in this fast-paced world. And it's very important that we focus on techniques to manage stress in our day-to-day lives, whether in work or studies. And keeping in line with this, there are various techniques from our ancient tradition that can be deployed to counter the negative aspects of this fast-paced life. So today we have Swami Tadananda or Niranjan Maharaj amongst us to enlighten on whether Yoga-Vedanta based management techniques for promotion of mental well-being for children and youth. So he has served in Ramakrishna Institute of Culture, Ramakrishna Mutt, Hyderabad, Vedanta Center of Sydney, and Ramakrishna Mission, Fiji. Currently, he is the minister in charge at Ramakrishna Vedanta Center, Auckland, New Zealand. So, without further ado, I would like to invite Maharaj to take on the proceedings. Thank you for your valuable time for this session, and I hope everyone will benefit and take away something valuable from this session. Maharaj, please.
Thank you and namaste everyone. Let us start by offering our prayers to Sri Ramakrishna as we normally do. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirashanamah. Namaste everyone. So nice to see you all after such a long time and reconnect. It's amazing what we can do with technology. And thank you for inviting me to share some ideas and thoughts on this very important topic of mental well-being, especially from the spiritual perspective. While we will talk what could be some solutions to the mental well-being, I would like to say that we don't want to oversimplify saying that whatever is happening in the medical field through clinical medication, all that are not important. They are necessary for people who have gone deep into depression or in advanced stage of mental well-being. But I'll talk more from a preventative, proactive perspective, especially with respect to children, younger children, when they are. It's easy later on as you grow up, the mind becomes like a baked brick. It can't give a new shape to it. But when they're young, you can shape it in any way they want. But and so what I will do in this 30 minutes or so is to just give an overall view. There is so much detail and very interesting as you go deep into it in the actual application of that. But at the outset, I would like to say that this is one of the projects that we have taken up for the work here in New Zealand. In India, just like we have so many schools and medical centers and relief work as some form of service to the society and community. For New Zealand, we have identified mental well-being, promotion of mental well-being. And the reason is that, whether you know or not, New Zealand has got one of the worst statistics regarding mental health. The highest rate of suicide among the youth is in New Zealand. You'd wonder why a beautiful country in this quiet corner of the world, no disasters, natural or man-made, why would young people in the early teens would take their life away? uh, what could be the way? The government here has got a budget of $1.9 billion, yet the figures of all these antidepressants and suicides are going up. I just read the other day the uptake of antidepressants by teens and children has gone up by 53% in the last 5 years. So it is a big crisis, and as you said, it is a worldwide thing. Now, when we approach this mental well-being, we should not say that anytime somebody is feeling a little low or is behaving not normally, that is a mental health issue. So, as a good example, let us say our Lord Buddha as a Prince Siddhartha, living with his father, wife, child in a palace with all the enjoyments and luxuries of the world, in an artificial world. When he steps out beyond the boundaries of the palace, he sees things which shock him, old age, death and all that. And that night when he came back home, he was not a normal person. He was not engaging himself in his usual activities. He might have been sitting very quietly. And to another person, so members of the family, it could be, he is not mentally well. There's something wrong with this guy. He is not normal. So when we see people sometimes disillusioned by life, you see, we all have a perspective of life and what is our expectation. When things go on nicely, we are very happy. But when big blows come in life or something jolts us out of our comfort zone and shakes those boundaries around, then we become unsettled. And that unsettlement is really part and parcel of our growing up. Swami Vivekananda said that this world is a gymnasium where we come to do exercises to become spiritually strong. Those exercises are necessary. So in Buddha, if Buddha did not react like that, if he went out and came back and continued behaving like the usual person, so-called normal in our everyday language, the world would not have got a Buddha. That disillusionment was the step that made him seek something higher. So in life, when people get jolted out of their comfort zone, whatever it is, maybe somebody dies or some tragic event happens and suddenly everything begins to fall apart. For some people, they would not be able to cope with it. Others, it will spur them to something higher, ask them to question something, ask those small but important questions like, who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What's the meaning and purpose of all this? And if such a change is triggered by even a painful experience in life, then one should not classify it as something bad. Actually, it's how we respond to it, how we use that particular jolt, you might say, to spur us onto the real purpose of our coming into this world. And so that takes us to the next level and says, so what is the purpose of coming into this world? This life is just a link in a long chain. Most of us are so engrossed in our day-to-day activities, weeks, months, years, and before you know, you become an old person and we leave this world, coming empty-handed, going empty-handed. We all hear about that. But now and then we need to zoom out of this one life or small, trivial, insignificant things which we tend to magnify and make it very big so that as if the world will stop if we did not attend to those type of things. No, it's not like that. We zoom out and say, what is the whole purpose? Why do we keep on coming to this world? And that we won't be the first person to ask that question. Many have asked that question before. Not only asked, they went out and sought the answers. They committed their whole lives to it. And they also found the answers. And those are recorded in our scriptures. You had an experience of a little bit of that, or opportunity to learn a little bit of that when you're at Vidyapit. You might have been reading a little bit of Sanskrit and some scriptures, but I hope you had time to go back into those, read at least the English translations, and let that knowledge color and influence your everyday life and enrich you. So this is where the Vedanta and the yoga comes. It tells that the real purpose of life is to discover who we really are. Does that mean that we are not this individual, this personality, this body-mind complex, the man with his biodata, CV, occupying high posts and all that? No, these are temporary things. They come, they stay, and they go. But there is something permanent behind all these changes. And that permanent entity is our real self. We call it the Atman, Paramatman, Supreme Brahman, whatever it is. Its nature is that it is eternal, immortal, pure, perfect, free, full of knowledge, bliss, and all the wonderful things that we normally attribute to the divine, to God. Really, we are an aspect of the divine. That is our higher self. Life means when we are born into this world, we identify ourselves with this body-mind complex, our individuality, the culture that we are brought up in, the profession that we take, and then we get totally swept away from by all this what the world has to offer. And when things happen the way we want, we are happy. We say, God is gracious. He has given me this. He has given me that. But now and then, when God really becomes gracious, He will break a few of your toys. And then you might cry and go and get another toy, or you might pause and stop and say, what's it all about? So it's about our perspective and approach of life. Those who have access to this knowledge will pause and look and stop and say, there is something to be learned. Every experience is a great teacher in our life. The painful ones are better teachers. The good ones are not so good teachers, so to say, the enjoyable ones. So when these painful experiences come, then it's an opportunity to learn. If you have that that perspective, then that would be the right way to approach. The other day we had a retreat, and I told a little story. You'll remember that story better than all the philosophy thing. So let me tell you that nice story. There was a farmer in the village, and in the village, there was on his farm there was a dry well that all the water had dried out, and some creepers had covered it. One day, his old donkey was grazing around there, and it slipped and fell into that well, some 10 meters deep. The farmer went and looked at the poor donkey, and he tried various ways to pull it out. He called his neighbors, and they all tried their various methods, and none was successful. Eventually, the farmer said, if you leave this poor donkey there, this fellow will suffer so long and have a very painful death. Practical people, these farmers. So I said, let's bury him now, make it short and quick. So they all got their shovel loads of shovels and started throwing soil into the well. And every time the soil fell on the bank of the donkey, he shook it off. Was not happy on his back. So the farmers kept on laboring on for half an hour, and then looked down, and they saw that the donkey was halfway up, because he was shaking the soil, and the soil was filling the well, and the donkey was rising up. And as they kept on doing the whole thing, eventually the donkey stepped out of the well. So there could have been two approaches to the donkey. He was caught in a difficult situation. Death is staring at him. On top of that, these farmers are now trying to bury him in there. If he let that soil sit on his back, so to say, and fall and get covered, he would have died. But if he decided to shake it off, that's the title of the story, you might say, shake it off, then that same issue which was supposed to be the cause of its death became the means of its liberation. So in life, when problems come, we try to run away from them because we want only nice, comfortable things. But if you change your attitude and approach to it and say, what is there that life is trying to teach me? You'll find that behind that cloud, there is always a silver lining. And you see that something life is trying to teach you, maybe not from the perspective of your worldly achievements, but definitely from a spiritual point of view. What is that? Life is trying to tell you that we are not these individuals. We are not this body-mind complex. We are a spiritual being. Somehow we have got ourselves totally identified with this. Everything in this world is changeful. end will go, the body will go, mind will go, money will go, name will go, fame will go. Life is trying to teach me to detach myself and give up this attachment to these transitory things and try to realize the permanent behind all these changes. So that's why how you'll see that the divine, when it's gracious, when you go to the temple and pray to God, be gracious to me. Don't think in a very material way that you want good health and money and children and all those things. Yes, all those things are there, but the ultimate grace is when you get God Himself or you realize your own divinity. That is the highest thing we should ask for. And if your prayer is sincere, then the divine response, of course, comes. And what does He do? He'll break a few of your toys. And when He does that, of course, children cry. But then the mother wants to break the toys so that children can stop the game and come to her. That is the real divine grace. Anything that takes us towards the spiritual goal. So the world is a gymnasium where we come to do exercises to become spiritually strong. Strength is life, weakness is death. That's what we hear from Swami Vivekananda. So when we talk about mental health in particular, health, the word in Hindi is swasth. And when people meet each other, we ask in English, how are you? In Hindi, they will say, aapka swasth kaisa hai? And mostly people will understand he's inquiring about my physical health, and you will tell I am well. But if you, and I think you know enough Sanskrit, the word swasth is a Sanskrit word, swastha. The real question is a much bigger question. It is asking you, are you established in your own true self? Are you established in swastha? Are you established in your true self? So the question means it's not about the physical body, but something more than that. And what is that? So according to Yoga and Vedanta, the human personality is made of three dimensions: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Body, mind, spirit. We are all familiar with the body part of it. The mind is a tool that we use. Many people think they are the mind, but the more smart, intelligent will say, no, I am something other than the mind. It's a tool that I use. In Sanskrit, it's called antakarana, inner organ. Do a little bit of study and look at Sankhya philosophy. You'll find so many notes on the internet. What it says is that the 24 cosmic principles, which are made of these Pancha Mahabhutas, 5 gross elements, 5 subtle elements called the 5 Tanmatras, 5 organs of knowledge called the Panch Jnanindriyas, 5 organs of action called 5, which are called the Panch Karmendriyas. All these make 20. And then inside we got this Mana, Buddhi, Chitta and Ahankara. Manas, Buddhi is the intelligence, Chitta is the mind stuff, Ahankara is the I sense. All these make 24 categories which are classified as Prakriti, nature. Beyond the nature is the Purusha, the Atman. We really are the Atman, but in ignorance we have become identified with this body-mind complex, and this cycle of coming and going into this world will continue so long this identification with this or the jivahood continues. So when we say the beauty about the Indian teaching religion is that the highest goal is mukti or freedom or liberation. That means you will detach yourself from all these limitations and abide in your spiritual nature, which is infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. Akhanda Satchit Ananda is our true nature. So when we talk about swasth, the question is asked, total health. It means not only the physical health, it means the emotional health, intellectual or mental health, moral health, and spiritual health. These are the 5 dimensions of our being: the physical, the moral, the emotional, the mental, moral, and spiritual. In our education system and what we learn at home, so much attention is given to the physical well-being: food, exercise, keeping happy. Quite a bit of is given to the mental dimension also, education, maybe a bit too much. So, but what about your emotional health? How strong are you? A small something somebody says to you, do you lose your balance? Or some small emotional problem happens, people become crazy or suicidal or lose their balance. That means that's only possible when emotionally we are very, very weak. How strong are we morally and ethically? A little temptation to tell lies or some shortcut in life comes. Do you lose your values? That means you are morally and ethically weak. And spiritual health, of course, comes or strength comes from your identification or knowledge of what you truly are. I am the eternal immortal being. Death cannot touch me, sword cannot cut me, fire cannot burn me, water cannot wet me. All those things that we read in the Bhagavad Gita, which Sri Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna. So Arjuna is a wonderful case of a person, highly accomplished, great general, warrior, very eager to fight, and he has rallied up a huge army. But at the crucial moment in life, when the two armies are just about to start the battle, something gives in. And this man, even before somebody has fired an arrow at him, is now a defeated person on the ground. The bow has slipped out of his hands, shaking and shivering, making all types of excuses and justifications to run away from the battlefield. That is his plight. So, all worldly knowledge comes of no avail. At that moment, Sri Krishna steps in and imparts to him something special, which is the knowledge of Vedanta, the teachings in the 18 chapters. And look at the power of those teachings. That man who was almost defeated and conquered stands up and fights the greatest battle of life, which is nothing compared to yours and ours. Such is the power of the teachings that are in the Gita, in the Upanishads, in our spiritual scriptures. So, empowered by that knowledge, we can fight our battles of life better. I'm reminded when I was in Hyderabad, someday some students came to our Swami, Senior Swami, and said, Swamiji, can you suggest a good Bhagavad Gita for us? So he asked them, what do you want it for? They said, our principal is retiring, we would like to give him a gift. The Swami smiled and said, this Gita is not for old people who are retiring. This is for young people who are going to start their journey of life. Let them learn from that so that they can benefit from it. So unfortunately, some people think spirituality and religion is something they will take up when the rest of the fun of this world is over and they lose out the best times and the body is strong, mind is strong to do something with it. Anyway, coming back to this 5 dimensions of our personality. We pay plenty of attention to our body. We do quite a bit on our intellectual growth and development. And we have understood strength is life, weakness is death. We know that so long we are strong, the outside world challenges can come our way. We don't have much control over them, but we have the inner strength to face them. Somebody asked Swami Vivekananda, what is life? He said, life is a struggle between the external forces and the internal forces. Whichever wins will decide the fate of the person. If the external forces, it could be virus, it could be climate change, or it could be anything out there. If they overpower us, then we succumb and we die. But so long our internal strength is sound, your immune system is better, your mental strength is better, you'd be able to overcome those difficulties. So how do we empower ourselves to be strong? First, we have to understand that the Atman, or the soul within ourselves, the deepest dimension of our being, that is the real powerhouse or the repository of all the strength that we require. And that is where the more we are connected in that, the more we are grounded in that, the more we are swastha in that, the greater energy, whatever you require, comes from that deep source. So if you want to become strong in a very rational, logical way, how do you do it? Well, physically, let us say, if you wanted to become strong, you'd go to a gymnasium, pay money, you do all those exercises, come back home, the muscles are paining, you're aching all over the day, all over the body, but then you go then the next day again. Why would you pay money and have a painful experience? Because deep inside we know that exercise is necessary to stimulate a response from the body to manufacture more muscles. And if you do that not only once or twice, persist in that, eat good food, and do it in a systematic way as taught by the instructor in the gym, after some time these muscles will pop out. They did not come but because you bought some muscles and pasted to your body, but that was a response from within, a response to an exercise from outside. So if we look at this whole world as a gymnasium in which we come to do exercises to make ourselves strong emotionally, morally, and ultimately spiritually. Now, in that particular attempt to make ourselves physically strong, we can have an equation. The outcome that we want is strength. What are the requirements, requisites on the other side of the equation? So if we say good food, because you need to eat good food, just doing exercises won't make us very strong. Proper exercises and persistence over time. Once or twice will not make any difference, will result in strength, physical strength. Let us look at the intellectual side of things. If you want to make yourself mentally or intellectually strong, that is our education system. In the education system, you have got kindergarten, your primary school, your secondary school, your university. Systematically, you increase the capacity of the mind or the intellect to grapple with more and more complex situations and find solutions to them. So, in a graded way, all these ideas or knowledge, we can classify them to be the food for the mind. The exercises are whatever you do in the school, and there's no wonder why there's a section at the end of every chapter which is called exercises. You might have a book called exercise book, and if you go through them in a systematic way, over time you develop your mental capacity as a professional, as a lawyer, doctor, teacher, engineer, to solve problems in that particular field. We have an equation. Intellectual strength is a result of food for the mind, education system, which is the exercise, and systematically done over the course of your study of 20 years or so. And you produce a wonderful, smart, intelligent person. Let us go to the spiritual dimension. If you want to make yourself spiritually strong, because strength is life, then again, spiritual ideas contained in the scriptures, they are the food for the soul. Spiritual disciplines of meditation, japa, and all this discipline that are taught in the yama and niyama and of the Bhagavad Yoga Sutras and everything, they become the exercises done over a lifetime or sometimes over many lifetimes, brings in spiritual strength coming from self-knowledge of who we are. So we have the same equation: strength, physically, mentally, spiritually. All of them have their own food, their own exercises. They have to be done in a systematic way. So that sounds very logical and scientific. Now we can pause and ask this question: is there any systematic training to make ourselves emotionally strong? Do we have in our training at home or at school where there is some exercise, emotional exercises, or an emotional food for that matter, and that makes us so strong that nothing in the world can unsettle us? Resilient, strong, tough. And most of the time you'll say, no, nothing, maybe difficulties will come after made us strong. Those people who have a tougher life are stronger. Those who live a very nice, easy, soft, everything is provided. They also look very nice from outside, but it's like sometimes, here in New Zealand, they have wonderful nurseries. Inside the nursery, they plant all these small sapling trees, plants. They are very nice so long inside the nursery. When you bring them out in the sun and the wind, they wilt and suffer, while those that grow outside are strong. So sometimes when we have too much comforts, these difficulties and challenges are not there. That lack of exercise prevents us from becoming very, very strong. If we want strength, we cannot escape. We need those exercises. So that is emotionally. You might say, morally and ethically, again, are there any types of such systematic way of strengthening ourselves at that moral and ethical disciplines? Normally you'll know, but if you're lucky, you have good parents, good role models who are guiding you through, and good values are given. You'll have plenty of opportunities in life where you'll be tested to be honest, to be truthful, to be kind, to be practicing ahimsa. So these are all exercises. And if a smart person comes across those opportunities, he will grab them and say, I'm going to use this to my advantage to make myself strong, because I want to be strong in all dimensions of my being. So you see, if we are not what we call holistically strong, then many times you hear people who are very successful, wonderful and everything, but some small trigger, something hit them in the soft belly, and they did something where, mentally they could not handle the situation, did something which was harmful to themselves. So Vedanta says that having this knowledge of the bigger picture, the total integrated picture of who we are, physical, mental, emotional, moral, and spiritual, all those are necessary. And not only that, we need to also exercise and strengthen all those dimensions of our being to be stronger in a more comprehensive and total way. And if we don't do that, then even a great person like Arjuna suffers from a mental situation, challenge. See, the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is called Arjun Vishada Yoga, the depression of Arjuna. He too was depressed, but he found he was lucky to have a great teacher like that who could give him the knowledge on the spot and empower him with that, and see the result that he could engage himself and win that battle of Mahabharata. From that, we learn that can we empower ourselves in our everyday life by utilizing that knowledge of Vedanta and the practices of meditation to connect ourselves to that infinite powerhouse that is available all within us all. And then you can do some magic in this world. All the great souls, whether it's a Vivekananda, Buddha, Christ, and all that, we're also human beings like you and me. But why would they have that tremendous influence over humanity over centuries? It's because they were connected to that powerhouse, which is called the Supreme Brahman or Atman. We all also are connected, but in some of us, the current flows in milliamperes. In others, a little bit more. In a Buddha and a Christ flows in thousands of amperes, and they can bring the light to the world. So these are some of the wonderful teachings that are in the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita that are available to us. These are teachings. If somebody is feeling a little down, if you try to say, hey, go and read the Bhagavad Gita, he said, I'm not in my mind, is not in that particular space to make any sense out of it. So that's why this is all good as a proactive, preventative measure for yourself, for your children. As parents, it's not your duty only to just give them some food and clothing and some education. Remember, those things are not the full package. Your duty is also to provide them a means by which they can strengthen themselves in those other dimensions, the spiritual, the moral, and ethical. And this is, I think, a wonderful gift of that the Indian spirituality can give to the world, because that is something our Vedic teachers centuries and centuries ago dived deep into the inner space of man, while others went in to conquer the outer space. They went within themselves, and they also found these wonderful, most profound teachings, and they wanted to share with us. And now and then great teachers, incarnations come, and in this age, Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda have brought and broadcast that knowledge abroad. This beautiful organization of Ramakrishna Mission, through its channels, that knowledge is flowing out, but it needs to go in a bit modern, applied way, so that people don't have to wrestle with the Sanskrit and all those things. scriptures in a very simple way, in a practical way. And that is the project that we have identified, something to do in that way in New Zealand here. So I think I've spoken already for half an hour. This is a deep topic. I have not really gone into any aspect of it, but just let me explain, give an example. So what this is something we are trained to sort of look and study the external world. Naturally, we are born firing all the five senses. We look, see, hear, touch, taste. And our education and training is more about studying the external world. The capacity to observe the internal world, our own mind space, that is not somehow taught to us. And so if we look within the mind space, which is called the Antakarana, the realm of the Manas, Buddhi and Ahankara, there is a wonderful untapped power in all of us. And that is called the power of intelligence or Buddhi. Buddhi is the faculty that is developed, just like through physical strength is developed, we can develop that capacity of Buddhi. The Buddhi is the power of discrimination. So as I'm speaking to you, I have got certain ideas that I'm trying to encode in a language using the choice of words, phrases, sentences. And I'm also observing my own thought process, whether I have expressed enough or not. So there are two parts in my mind internally. One is the active mind, the one that is doing the work, thinking, talking. And there is a reflective mind or the witness mind or the observer mind, which is observing my own inner process. And that is called the Buddhi. In a child, that is not very much developed. That's why the mother has to be supervising the child all the time. As we go through the school, higher and higher, through the turbulent ages of teenage period, that Buddhi at some stage matures, and we say that child has, or that young man has become matured, is responsible, give him that freedom. And if you keep on developing that, at some point people will call you, that's a Buddhiman. And if it's not developed properly, then they will say it's a Buddhu. This Buddhi or intellect is what makes the difference between a person and a person. And when that Buddhi is properly developed, then you make the right decisions at the right time. You're able to see the difference between what is real and what is not real, what is fake news and what is truth, or what is somebody's opinion. And when you don't have that capacity developed, then we get all mixed up and make wrong choices in life. So the best training or education that can be given to anyone is that development and that Buddhi. In our olden days, our sages knew the means of it, and that's why at a particular age you will get your Gayatri mantra, and that mantra has got a special power to awaken that Buddhi. Bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yonah prachodayat. That Buddhi is what is really the best tool that we have in the to guide our own thought process. So when you talk about mental health, when the mind is sick, how do we cure it? Well, if I gave you 6 matchsticks and asked you to make 4 equilateral triangles out of it, think about it, do it mentally. So you put 3 sticks on the table and you have get 1 triangle. You add another 2, you get 2 triangles. Now you got 1 more matchstick. Can you get your 4 triangles out of it? And now doesn't matter how long you keep on struggling, so long you're trying to operate on a 2-dimensional surface, you'll never get that 4 triangles. But the moment you stop and say, I'm going to step out of 2 dimensions into 3 dimension, your answer pops up. What do we learn from this? We learn that most of the time, you'll find that the answer to a problem is found at one level higher than the problem itself. Okay, the answer to a problem is found at a level higher than the problem. So if there's a physical problem, then the solution comes from the mental level. For example, this COVID came, this virus came. Because if it had come 1 century back, then probably half of the population of the world would have been wiped away. But if it came later, when man had developed that knowledge, we applied that mental knowledge and developed the vaccine and everything and conquered something at a physical level. So that's the intelligence of man helped him there. But if the mind itself is in a problem, then you need to find a solution at a higher level. That higher level is your buddhi, the spiritual level. And that's where we very strongly feel that for this challenge that we find globally, all communities of all ages of people, unless we are able to tap into that higher dimension of our being by using these types of knowledge of Vedanta and meditation and all that, I don't think you can keep on using your antidepressants and create zombies around the world, or there really doesn't seem to be any logical solution to that. Might be somehow we are able to control and give some relief to people, but ultimately, the ultimate solution has to come from the spiritual dimension. And you are also lucky because at least you had some taste of it. What you're doing with that in your life, I do not know, but at least it might spur you, these discussions, to think seriously, dive deep into that, and maybe say we can work together and maybe find a solution that we can share with the rest of the world. That would be so nice. And that is what we are trying to do as a project identified for New Zealand, starting here, and then we'll share that around with the world. So I think, Ritesh, as per the time given to me, that's about an hour, half an hour, and then we can have some questions and discussions. But this is just like an introduction and a tip of the iceberg to share with you guys. I haven't really gone into any greater detail about the real fascinating field of how the mind operates and how we control it and how we sharpen that into the right tool to guide us, manage our everyday life here and go beyond that.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think we already have few raised hands. So I think I would start with Sanjeev Sinhada to please ask your question, and then we Pushpendra after that.
Pranam Maharaj. I have two questions. Number one is the very basic. You talked about strength at 5 levels, spiritual level. So it's a very basic question. We hear a lot about the word spirit being spiritual. So I would like to know in few words what exactly we mean by being spiritual, because different religions talk differently. So that's the first question. What is being what it looks like being a spiritual person? Number two, uh, you talked about depression, and what I see is you also mentioned about New Zealand as being such a beautiful place and good amount of wealth. So I have seen that those two extremes, being in extreme poverty and also those who have lots of money, in both cases we find the problem at uh, mental level. I mean, so money factor is a factor. So I would like to know that if a person is struggling with the matter about money, and which I find that money is a social aspect and a mental aspect also, because it is a social health aspect, monetary economic aspect. So my doubt is whether the problem of money that a person faces is also related to being solved at spiritual level, or is it something that one should work at the social level? So in nutshell, two questions: what it is being about being spiritual. Second, what is the level at which one should go to increase their financial strength or well-being?
So it's not that you are just going to be spiritual at the expense of other things. Like I said, it's the physical, mental, emotional, moral, and spiritual. And of course, like Swami Vivekananda said, religion is not for people on empty stomachs. Give them food, clothing, shelter first. Roti, kapda, makan. You can see in the Ramakrishna mission, we don't go around preaching too much of all high Vedanta only. We are focusing on providing good education to help people stand on their own feet. Those who require medicines in this and that hospital system. So there are those where relief work is necessary for poor people. All that is done. It's a comprehensive package. But Just focusing only at the physical level, when you are, focusing on eating, drinking, procreating, and having, then there's not much difference between a human being and an animal. The cow also lives a very healthy life, maybe. But man is destined for something higher. So that answers, I suppose, your question about the need of money, wealth, and all that. Yes, you need to provide yourself, but everything has a limit. You can eat only so many chapatis and sleep on one bed. And you can only use so much of this physical wealth. There's more to life than just living at the gross physical level. And that is what we are trying to say. And that comes to spiritual. Spiritual does not mean, here in the West, when you talk about this, people will say, oh, we are not religious, but we are spiritual. And by that, they mean that, yes, we don't go to the temple or church. We don't go engage ourselves in all these rituals and ceremonies, but we believe in goodness, kindness, compassion, and all those things, truthfulness, and that we practice nicely. We might not even believe in God. Half of them claim to be atheists, but they're good people. Good in the sense that don't do any harm to others and they serve others in a proper way. Spirituality means at least there are two aspects of it. One is the philosophy part of it, the knowledge that there is something much more than human life, beyond this body, beyond this mind. What is that consciousness that operates through this whole mechanism? When it departs, everything falls apart. If we don't ask that question in our life, just carry on as if everything is okay, then we'll certainly get hit by what is that one event that will be as sure as the sun rises tomorrow morning, which is called death. Others will say, well, there must be some higher meaning and purpose. And so spirituality here means trying to uncover or discover or realize that higher aspect of our being, the Atman, which is taught in all our scriptures, and make an effort for that also. So, but you can't do that if you're hungry, you don't have a proper place. So provide all those things for yourself and your family. But beyond that, don't limit yourself, your pursuits in life, to those the physical world only. There's much more to life, to meaning and purpose beyond that. And that is what we are really coming for. Again and again in this world, whether you come for 5 lifetime, 50 or 1,000, there's no respite and escape until we realize that infinite being that we are. And make a point to make some progress in that direction as we go through our professions, duties, responsibilities in that life. How to balance that beautifully is what we try to achieve, if I may say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. Thanks for
Okay, so now Pushpendra, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Pranam Maharaj. Yeah, Pranam Maharaj. Am I audible?
I can see you also.
Okay, thank you. Maharaj, my question is bit practical, you can say, which I myself is feeling that from last at least an year. So the close friends, both, you may say in my office, colleagues, or the friends who are very near to us, and my society where I stay, a lot of people, daily I meet them in the morning walk, evening walk. And slowly when I start meeting them, talking to them, and then after 3 months and 4 months, I find, and this is happening with everyone in office, in my society, in my close circle. After a few months, I hear something which is so bad about him, which I had never thought, and it's just beyond my ideology, and that really makes me again to restrain myself, and I slowly try to detach with him. So this is happening with most of the people. In last 1.5 years, I am seeing this is happening. Now I am feeling, Maharaj, I have a doubt, am I unfit for this group, or rather these people are not fit and there is a mismatch. So I am confused ki, who is wrong? Because they say, right, I mean, एक गलती नहीं हो सकता है, 100 आदमी गलती नहीं कर सकते, गलती एक ही से होती है. So now, am I wrong or these all peoples are wrong? So that is the confusion, and sometimes it makes me feel, Maharaj, a bit lonely, because I keep thinking on this line that what is making me, I mean, detached from everyone. I mean, whoever I try to make friendship and talk to them, and slowly after a few months, I feel that something is wrong and I try to detach again. So this is happening recurrent from last 1.5 years. So I just want to understand. I'm in a confusion of mental state that am I wrong or something is wrong in outside world?
Okay. Your answer, you quoted, गलती एक से होती है ना, बहुत से नहीं, सबसे नहीं होती. Well, if they applied to Buddha, then you would not get, your father would have explained, just be normal. Why are you abnormal behaving like this? See? So you'll find always there is this type of what is called normal and abnormal. If you looked at and did an analysis of the whole population, you will get a bell-shaped cave, okay, where they say average in the middle, and this is what we call the normal group. They behave normally, they are consistent with each other, they associate with other. And then there is this at the lower end, this group of people, हम लोग बोलते हैं पगला है, केवला है, misfit है, whatever is there, okay. They don't fit in the society. And then there's always another small group at the upper end who also don't fit in there in the society, because they can see through the facade of the society. What you call this being nice and sociable and be happy, and outside it looks very good. It's a hollow like a bamboo inside. And they can see that, but they don't go around beating the bush and being normal like that. Okay, they said, I can't be what you call false to myself. And when their training or their education or their culture, whatever, doesn't let them be normal. But there's nothing wrong with them. Normal, what we call, is a bunch of common people there who can't shift. There is always another, a bit more intelligent group at the upper end, who are normally called misfits in the society also. The most brilliant one, you probably find them in the mental asylum, because people did not understand, they put him there also. And it is something like that. So just because you do not resonate with the whole world doesn't mean there's something wrong with them, with you. It could be that your frequency does not match with them. That doesn't, it could be, you could be in that top high 5%. What do you call third standard deviation at the upper level. So yes, but if you are sincere, then you will find that you will also attract to you people who are of that same frequency. You see, imagine this world. Let's I'll explain to you how it is. In physics, we used to have this electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, different frequencies are there. And or just take a TV channel. Okay, so you have a TV channel, you tune it to a particular frequency, you receive that station. You tune to another frequency, another station. All the stations are there, but you receive the one that you tune to. So the mind is like that. If your mind is at a lower level, you tune into a world, and those type of ideas and interests and news and people, they will come and you'll be just happy with them because you are finally tuned with them. You resonate with them. We are on the same page, we are comfortable, you say, adjusted with them, I'm very happy here. But if your frequency at a slightly different level, then you'll find that there is this mismatch which you're talking about. But if you hang in there, you will find that you'll also attract people of that particular frequency. You might not find them on your walkabout, you might not find them in the workspace, and there might not be that many of them there. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with them. In the extreme case, when you don't find, then you get out of there. And that's what these monks do. They get out of the society knowing that they're not going to fit there. But they find another society of swamis and monks and spiritual seekers where they are all comfortable with and they have the common interest. The important thing is to understand that our minds run at a particular frequency, so to say, and we are attracted to such people, and we attract such people according to our mental makeup, so to say. If an ordinary common man doesn't fit in you and then just because you don't have friends doesn't mean you have to drag yourself down to their level. You stick around. Maybe it's good to have 2 good friends than half a dozen who are meaningless, useless ones there. And if it's necessary, then you go solo. What is that Bengali sing? If there are not any people, you walk alone.
Ekla chalo. Ekla chalo re.
Ekla chalo. Yeah, that's the best way. Sometimes you find it is having all this crowd of people is a bit of a problem only. You begin to dance to their music, you try to accommodate them, entertain them. You can't do the things your own way. That is like being called sociable and being nice and adjusting and accommodating. At the end of the day, you are never true to yourself. Sometimes it requires a bit of a mental strength and say, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And whether people are there or not, that's the better way.
Got
Do
it,
you have
Mike.
any issue with that?
No.
No. There are a lot of nice people there also. You see, there is a beautiful experiment in physics. Let me explain. You're all science people, so let me tell a little bit of science. So if you take 5 grandfather clocks, same design, put in the wall, and you let them swing out of rhythm. You leave it there for 2 days, and you come back and you find them all are going at the same. This is called rhythm entrainment. Okay, you release a bottle of fireflies. They're all different, flicking at different days. After some time, you see they're all flicking together. So this is what happens, that when you get a group of people together, they'll try to resonate together. Then you say, we are on the same page. We are all good friends. We have adjusted to each other. We party together. We do things together. So this is how minds are like that. Every mind is a frequency. Suppose you go join a company. Okay, and at the company, let me give a crude example. Every Friday they go for the happy hour. Okay, you don't drink or something. So, and you have the pressure, hey, come. And you want to fit with them. So what do? You say, okay, I'll go and drink some juice or something with them, but I will go with them just to be part of the group. You go with them, and that group will work on you. And after some time, you might try a beer or something. And before you know, after 2 months, you are the one calling everyone to go to the happy hour. You see what has happened? Their mind dragged you and synchronized you with them, and you have become part of it. And that is what company does. You select a good company, it will lift you up. You select a bad company, it will drag you down. So you have to be very careful what type of people you associate with. So this grandfather clock thing there is there. Yes, you put 5 clocks, let them for some time, a day or 2, and you find that they swing together now. Rhythm entrainment. Do a little bit of, there's a beautiful book by Isaac Bentov. You might want to note that name. Isaac Bentov, it's called Taming the Wild Pendulum. I think, yeah, Taming the Wild Pendulum. So if you put these 5 clocks and then you bring a 6 clock one day and put next to this 5, but out of sync, it will not take 1 day to synchronize with them. Within a short time, it will pull up. So the energy of the system will drag it in and make it tune itself. So you have to be very careful. The company that you seek, it will drag you down to their level. And when you try to escape it, it will pull you back in there. And that happens, for example, you're working for a company, you've settled in very nicely, then you say, okay, this is getting boring, I want to aspire for something higher. You go to the boss, say, I'm going to retire. They come back to you and say, don't go, we're going to give you better perks and get a promotion or this and that. The system will drag you back and hold you there. So that is the power of association. It can lift you up. If you approach a high energy, it can drag you down if you approach a lower energy. So you have to be careful. That's why they say satsang is important. Good company, good friends.
Okay, so now I think Srikanta also wants to ask something. Srikanta, please go ahead.
Yes. Namaskar, Maharaj. Ami Srikant.
Namaste.
Yeah, I'm nice, wonderful listening to you. Khub bhal laglo, and that too from New Zealand. And when you were not there when I was in school, you came probably joined after that. My question: I'm almost 60. In the real sense, I am trying to practice the spiritualism, Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna and Vivekananda said, like gratitude, truthfulness, sincerity, all those things. But again, now regarding the spiritual journey, is there any age or is there some some calling is there like we have to start? Number one. Number two, few practical tips how to go about it. That is. I know it is very vast topic, but just to initiate, just to begin, how to begin this journey. Thank you, Maharaj.
So you, at your age, life has already taught you many lessons, and one of that everything is pretty hollow. Everything is temporary. You have tried things out and probably found the true nature. And you have now time and space, I suppose, looking at you. Children are grown up and all that. And so, see, for your age, the real spiritual practices are japa and meditation.
Right.
Okay. If you're initiated, then your guru has given you the mantra and has given you the method to meditate. If not, you should get that. And then a bit of a discipline, morning and evening, as per your teaching, spend some time from, focusing the mind within. The mind is naturally diverted outside, running outside. Now it's conditioned to do that. It's a bit of a difficult at this age, but nothing is impossible. Your own effort, God's grace. And then within yourself, you'll find what is the source of real peace. That's what you want, actually. All of us want ultimate peace. We know that it's not out there. But meditation is a technique by which we learn how to dive deep into ourselves and connect or enter that space where the world cannot intrude, that space of perfect peace. See, on the surface of the ocean, there are all these turbulent waves, big and small. If you're on the surface, it will toss you up and down. But if you can learn how to dive deep inside, then there's the beautiful, peaceful undercurrent there. Meditation is that technique by which we train ourselves to access that dimension of our being, which we call spiritual. And to do that, there are definite techniques and methods that have been given by our spiritual teachers. And that's where your japa, especially the mantra that you receive, has got in itself built some spiritual power. And we practice it with great sincerity and devotion. That will open within you that door to enter that spiritual dimension. So, yes, my suggestion would be, if you want to know a little bit of meditation and all that, well, when I was in Brisbane during the COVID time, actually I was going to India and the COVID came and my flights got cancelled. So I had to do, Swamiji, they asked me to take some classes. And so I had 2 series of classes. One was guided meditation for beginners, a series of 26 classes. If you search on YouTube, Ramakrishna Vedanta Center, New Zealand, Ramakrishna Vedanta Center, New Zealand, Swami Tadananda, you will find 2 playlists under there.
Okay.
And there you'll find in very great detail, starting from the very basics, yama, niyama, and all that. But all of them have a 10-minute guided meditation. Just follow through that, and after some time, you'll find that you will learn the technique. And there is another topic series called Mind Management Techniques, which is about mental health. People end up on COVID time, but we didn't want to call it, mental well-being. We gave it a nice name, Mind Management Techniques. Listen through them. You'll get enough to start practicing. And if you want to be part of what we are doing here, go to the Vedanta Center New Zealand's website, vedanta.nz. You'll see a website. It's not all that very good. I had to develop it myself, but have a look at that. It's like a built-in Facebook, so you can register into that or sign in, and there you'll find special classes, group discussions, and all those things happening. Online courses are there, and we are developing those resources. And through that, you can be in touch with us. You can join our classes online from there. recordings of classes will be there, and we can be in touch with you and provide you whatever help we can. That applies to all of you. Vedanta.nz. Sign in. I will see you sign in. You'll see Gita classes going on. There's classes on Kashmir Shaivism. We're going to start something on mental well-being. We have spiritual retreats from here, which you can join online, and recordings are there. So using technology, we're trying to make this knowledge and things accessible. Plus, other things are also happening. Anyway, if you're in contact, you'll get to know what's
Thanks,
happening.
Maharaj. That is very kind of. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Now, Repu Sudanta, please, you can now ask your question. Are you audible? Are you? So, Repu Sudanta, you can unmute yourself and then ask your question.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Actually, I had been in Merchant Navy, saw ups and downs of life, but unfortunately, 4 years before, I met with sea pirates and got hijacked. I was, in captivity for almost 5 weeks. Then had to pass through a lot of emotional journeys. Family went through a lot. After being released there, I was under psychiatric treatment for quite a long time. Then I joined back sea again for a year, for one contract, 6 months. Then got a chance, quit sea, but still struggling with the mental health, myself and my wife. So Maharaj, how can I get over it? Actually, I had been through a lot of psychopathic medicine and a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists. They work a lot, still under medication, but I want to get rid of the medicine and get into the mainstream.
The medicine is inside you, within you. Like I said, what we say, whatever you need is within you. Have that faith in yourself. You see, there's a beautiful teaching of Swami Vivekananda. He said, teach yourself, teach everyone his real nature. Call upon the sleeping soul and see how it awakes. Power will come, glory will come, goodness will come, purity will come, and everything that is excellent will come when the sleeping soul is aroused to self-conscious activity. This self-conscious activity, aware of your divinity in that infinite power, having faith in that and how to connect with that. So the knowledge portion will come saying, yes, I believe there is some divine there, but how do I access that? That's where the sadhana part comes. And that's where proper meditation and all those things are necessary. You need somebody to give you the right tools to access that knowledge. So if you, like I suggested to your friend there, hey, look, reach out to any of the Swamis that are there near. Where are you right now?
Maharaj, right now I keep on frequently between Gujarat and Kolkata. I mean, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off I'm doing. Working 2 weeks in
so here you go. Suitanand is there in Belurmat. You know him very well?
Yeah, he was my secretary, Maharaj.
Yeah, so you meet him there and, ask Maharaj, just tell or just, go and ask for the Diksha. That mantra is very, very powerful. You see, Sri Ramakrishna was a bundle of spiritual energy. That energy that he brought flows through the spiritual tradition in the Ramakrishna mission. And those people who want to access that will reach out and get that mantra. If all of you guys are not interested, initiated, you should do that. And once you get that mantra, then you get something. See, mantra is like a seed. You plant it and a tree, a sprout comes and becomes a tree and fruits and flowers. Then that awakening of that power that's within you from deep inside will nourish you. Otherwise, just knowledge is like a piece of wood has got some fire and heat, but just saying wood has fire, heat, nothing happens. You need to spark it. And then the fire burns. So that initial spark is called that initiation, and that will release that higher energy that is present in you. Don't worry too much about all the other things. You see, the moment you connect with the source, bring in that light, darkness fades away. In that series, on that playlist on YouTube for you, Ripusudan, there is another playlist there with 4 talks on the powers, the healing and the eliminating powers of Om. Om is, Shabda Brahman, the highest mantra. And this is a few discourses on one of the 2 sutras or 3 or 4 sutras of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Listen to that and you'll understand and incorporate that in your japa and meditation. Until you have that initiation, you can use the Gayatri mantra that you have learned and listen to those videos that I have talked about that will give you the method to meditate. Start practicing in your own humble way. Give yourself 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, and you will see other things will begin to sort themselves around. You can reach out to me through WhatsApp and I can then talk to you separately. Hope that helps, Ripu.
Hello. Yes. So there is one question in the chat box also. So I will read it out. I am an engineer, but I don't feel as successful. At the same time, I am just not able to work hard, stay focused to reach my higher goal. Should I force implement our Vidyapit daily routine upon myself?
Oh, Vidyapit routine is for the student in Vidyapit.
Maharaj, so nice of you enlightening me. I'll reach you personally on WhatsApp whenever I can get a chance. I'll get your number and then we can have more discussion personally, one-to-one, how to get over this problem.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Maharaj. Thank you very much for enlightening.
Yeah. So that's a very general question. You're an engineer. You want to have greater success. What is your greater success? All those things, probably a one-to-one discussion could be something more useful for me to be able to suggest something that might be useful and relevant to you. But yeah, you have learned certain things in Vidyapit. That routine is not to be possible followed in your everyday life, but getting up early in the morning, if you can give yourself 15-20 minutes of meditation, connect yourself deep inside, get yourself grounded before you go out into the world, that will always is a great thing for anyone and everyone. They should do, just to have some balance and poise in there. The other questions that you asked, like, hey, what do you want? What do you define as success? Does it mean making a lot of money or having a lot of promotion or being famous or known? Is that what you call success, a material success? Or your success would be peace of mind, or your success would mean in a spiritual dimension? So how you define according to that, the solution would be there. So whoever has given the text again can reach out through the WhatsApp. Yeah.
So just for everybody's information, so Maharaj's email ID has been shared by Ritishta in the chat box. So in case anybody would like to reach out after this session, then you can mail Maharaj anytime. So now again, now we have one hand raised from Rajeshda. So please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Pranam Maharaj, so good to see you after many years of Vidyapit. I have listened to some of your talks on YouTube, especially on mantra meditation. So it was nice. My question is, right now I find that my mind is focused on the mortality of life, that we are not here permanently. After some time, the body will go away. So from that perspective, I think mind is gravitating more towards understanding what is real. I listen to a lot of people try to find out answers to this, especially in Vedanta tradition. They say that the world is an illusion, or the world is a projection of your mind. Your parent did not give you birth, maybe you gave birth to your parents. So it seems like there is something that we are seeing right now, and there is something which is real, and we are not getting to see. So I wanted to understand this world is an illusion, or world is a projection of your mind. Are we, who is doing this Zoom call, are you a projection of my mind? Or is there something really real and maybe a little subtler, but is the world really real? And then there is, I just wanted to understand reality. I'm not able to wrap my head around it.
So definition of reality, what is real and what is unreal? Unreal is that which was not there, has come into being and will not be there. That means it's transitory. Yes, you're experiencing it there, but it doesn't have its own substance. It doesn't have a foundation on its own. And real means that which is the permanent, unchanging reality. So if you look at a movie, an old screen with a projector, what do you see? The white screen is there on which the whole movie is projected. When you sit in front of the movie, before the camera rolls, everyone is talking, and suddenly the lights comes up and the whole screen lights up, and then suddenly those numbers 9, 10, 8 roll through, and before you know, all these images appear, and you begin to follow the images and follow the hero and villain, this and that. You see, after a while, you have forgotten the screen totally, on which the whole movie is being projected. The shadows have become real. The drama, the action is happened. And then at the end of the movie, the projector shuts off, all the shadows disappear, but the screen still remains. Maybe there was a killing, there's a murder in the movie. The screen looked red at that time, but now the screen is unaffected, untainted. So that is the example that is given. Look, this whole world of names and forms that we are, plants, animals, humans, beings, all these 7 lokas right up to Brahma, they are all names and forms created on the screen of that unchanging reality, which is called Brahman, the pure consciousness that's inside all of us. We really are that pure consciousness, but we have lost that awareness of ourselves as that, and we have become identified with these names and forms. And one of those names and forms is Brajesh, the other one is Tadananda, there others are there. This is what is described by our personality, so the word English word personality is beautiful. We talk about personality development. It comes from Latin word means persona. Persona means a mask. In the olden days, when the actors on a stage would put on a mask to depict a character, that means you actually hide the real person, you project something on top of that. So what we are is really a persona, an appearance, but behind that is the real being that we are. And that is what the reality, which is of the nature of consciousness. So what this personality is what we mistake ourselves, and we say this individual with all his physical appearance or the mental and his achievements and likes and dislikes and all those things. Is he real? The answer is no. He appears, he stays for a while, he disappears like waves in the ocean. But the ocean is the reality, waves appear and disappear. So your question was, what is real? The ocean is real. What is unreal? All these waves that appear and disappear. And at some point, the ocean has to understand where it came from. What is holding and supplying its the energy, where it will go. And when it doesn't like the fun on the surface anymore, then he wants to merge back in the ocean and regain its infinite nature. That desire to reconnect with the ocean is what is called a spiritual life. And the japa, meditation, all these yogas are various techniques to reintegrate ourselves with that. So
Maharaj, japa and meditation, for example, meditation is more of a comes from Raj Yoga kind of thing. From pure perspective of Vedanta, the self-awareness, there are a lot of people who talk about self-awareness. Instead of concentration, they talk about awareness. Instead of thought, they talk about beyond the thought, a cessation of thought. So 2 things I wanted to understand. How to maintain the sense of witness throughout daily activities. And secondly, just let me see, I just made a quick note. And how to remain in satsang even without having the physical presence. Like I stay quite far away, there are no ashrams. You don't know also people whose company you are seeking, one has to be careful. Sometimes books and YouTube videos are the satsang, but you feel like having like something more. So 2 things, how to maintain Sakshi Bhav in daily activity, and how to remain in satsang?
So we are having a satsang right now, if you want to say. And if you say, hey, Swamiji, Maharaj, can we have this satsang more regularly? Then yes, we can open up a channel and now and then we can have that. Or you can come to join our Go to Vedanta New Zealand website, and you'll find there 2 groups are there. Every night, on Tuesday nights, we have a class on a special text called Pratyabhijna Hridayam, The Secret of Self-Recognition. It's a text on Kashmir Shaivism. On Thursday nights, we are studying the Bhagavad Gita, and a small group of people are there. All the recordings are available on our website also, and you'll see how we direct, and it's a sort of not a lecture, but a question-answer discussion type of forum. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to interact and ask questions and as we go. So that is your question about satsang, about maintaining that sakshi bhava. Sakshi means that, when I was talking to you about that buddhi, the witness, the observer who is watching the thought process inside, strengthening that aspect of our mind or being is the method. So when in meditation, what do is we sit quietly, we regulate our breath and all that, and just calm ourselves. We pray for the welfare of all beings. But then the actual mental exercise or discipline comes where we turn the mind from the outside world and focus in the center of our heart. Heart doesn't mean the physical heart. It means that center of our being. Hridayam. That means this is me at the depth of being, the spiritual dimension. So we visualize ourselves beyond our physical body, our mental body is a spiritual light of consciousness in the heart space. You visualize a beautiful lotus. If you are initiated or some aspect of God that you worship, you'd like to place in there. Imagine him to be the very embodiment of all divine qualities: kindness, grace, beauty, love, knowledge, peace, whatever. And then you communicate with that being, resonate with that energy. And if you're initiated, you'll get a mantra that will help you resonate with that high dimension of yourself. But in that process, mind will want to run away, and that's where your Buddha comes and keeps a watchful eye. And should the mind step out, it gently brings him back. And that in that process, you are exercising that buddhi, the observership. As it becomes stronger and stronger, that buddhi, that meditation, which is basically trying to sharpen or strengthen the capacity or awaken the strengthening of the willpower, the intellect or buddhi, by which the mind is controlled. As that becomes stronger, you naturally develop that faculty within you, which is now seeing itself as different from thoughts and ideas, but as an observer and control of those thoughts. And because in meditation, you're trying to strengthen that, when you step out into everyday life, you find that same buddhi is also utilized in your everyday life. So it keeps a very good control and watch over your thought process. You make better decisions, timely decisions. You're able to understand the right and wrong, good and bad, and all those type of things, real and unreal. So ultimately, that's awakening of that buddhi or strengthening of the buddhi through meditation and japa empowers you, gives you that real tool, that sleeping power that is there in all of us. And and the Raj Yoga and all those things are there. All that big talk about being an observer and making the mind vacant and this and that is more of all these commercial gurus. Okay, it's like, it's nice to be a university student, but you take a primary school student and put in the university class. Yes, you have the attendance, but you probably will not benefit at all. So you have to be very practical, knowing where you are, and take the right steps to progress from that position to the next. That special guidance is given one-to-one. It's not something that we tell openly. Once we get to know, then we said, okay, this is what you need, and then we ask you to try this, and you'll find that you're comfortable and you're making progress. So all those things are there in this spiritual journey, and we can help as much as possible where necessary to those who are interested to pursue this further.
Thank you, Maharaj.
But feel free, if you want to have hearing you, that if you want to have a Vidyapit Praktani Satsang group or something like this, then once in a while we can connect like this and have these discussions to the ones who are really serious about learning meditation and practicing it.
So
Sure,
my
at least I would be interested. Yeah.
okay. So now we have more questions in the chat box. So one from Prashant Sahuda. He asks that our soul is part of universal consciousness. Then how there can be rebirth of the same soul? It cannot be differentiated. Also, Atma is Drashta and mind body are Jesse, who controls our mind and body, who is responsible for our emotions, thought process.
Okay, a lot of questions in there packaged in one question. Lot. Yes, so there are different philosophies or different perspectives depending on how you are, what is your spiritual evolution or growth, how you see the world, and then we answer the question from their perspective. But if you say, look, Advaita means there is only one being, there is no two, there's only one ocean, but it appears as so many waves. Others feel very strongly identified with their personality, and for them, the process of sadhana or understanding is through Dvaita. That means God is another being, I am another being, we are related, just like a wave is related to the ocean. So there are different answers, and we can answer and explain best from the perspective of the person who's asking, if he clarifies, how he sees the world. But you see, in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna gives various explanations to Arjuna, and he says, okay, Atman is never born. Ajo nityam shasvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Atman is never born. It does not die. That is the highest truth. But if you think you are born, you're strong. That means I sense is very strong, identified. Then your approach is that yes, I am a jiva, I am coming, I am going, I am doing my actions have good and bad results, that is my karma, according to my karma I go, and then another type of explanation comes that makes sense to that particular person. So yes, the answers, there's not like one answer to for everyone. It's like, depends on the student who's asking the question, and that answer will then make sense to that particular person, so to say. Maybe you can reach out separately.
Sure. Now one question from Kalol Dattada. So he says that in this obnoxious world, we have to hide the true one with a mask, which we say is body, language, or personality. But in due course of time, it's too heavy to carry forward. One feels suffocated about what to do in this scenario.
So that's a statement. Ask the question. What's the question?
I think so. He would want your comment on whether people would try to in an effort to maybe present a better picture of themselves would go beyond their natural personality. So whether how to evade the suffocation caused due to this pressure to present a maybe distorted picture of your natural personality.
So, Kallol, if one does not have any idea about who we really are, means the real self behind, then the apparent self. There's a beautiful lecture on Swami Vivekananda called The Real and the Apparent Man. Read that. The real is the Atman, the apparent is the human personality. Now, if one does not have that any idea, suppose somebody is brought up in a culture where this Vedanta knowledge is not available. He thinks this world is there, make hay while the sun shines, enjoy and all those type of things. And for that person, the world, to be famous, to be rich, to be powerful, and all those things are what success is defined as. And therefore, he puts all his effort and time. It's crazy what people do in this age of social media. They go to a restaurant and take a photo of their food and put up there. I would always say eating your food is a very, very private, personal thing. Why would you want to show that off? But then he watches how many people like it. And if there are many likes, then he's happy. If there are not likes, then he feels down, So basically, one's own self-understanding of one's own higher self is so weak and so poor that, and listen to my words very carefully, that we subscribe to other people's opinion of us as to what we are. In other words, we are slaves of others. If people say nice things about us, we are happy. If they criticize us, become unhappy. You jump up and down according to what the world thinks of you. Where's your own self-value? That happens when you don't have that deep understanding or realization, or not realization, even a deep understanding and grounding of your true nature. So, and then we dance to the music of the world, and the world praises us one moment and rewards us and enslaves us, and after some time you understand the true nature of the world. There's no real friend out there. Everyone will use you, abuse you, and throw you aside. Whether it's sometimes you very roughly you might say even family, friends, boss, everyone is there. Or you can say that's the part of the world, all right, but I understand from our teachings and access to what we are talking about today that there is another spiritual dimension, and I'm going to focus on that. Let me read, let me study, let me meditate. And as your mind, because the mind is like a crystal, whatever you put next to, it will take the characteristics of it. If you put a crystal next to a red flower, the crystal appears red. Blue flower, blue. So if you put the mind next to your higher self or spiritual knowledge or God, you will find those divine qualities will begin to reflect on it, and you will have that inner sense of true value of who you are. Then you don't care what the world says. But if you don't have that inner knowledge, then we are at the mercy of the world, and the world, is very, very merciless. So that's why you need to protect yourself with this spiritual knowledge. And knowledge is a great savior. There's no greater purifier than knowledge. So read the Bhagavad Gita, read the lectures of Swami Vivekananda, think deeply on those things, take one or two ideas that appeal to you, put that into practice, and you will feel that, oh, this is good, this is very empowering, and then get into the habit of that. At the same time, just don't have the intellectual type of thing. Practice. You have to take the medicine inside, and then you will feel the real awakening of the power of the Atman that Swamiji talks about, that we talk to you about. And there's no other way. What you are ever seeking for is within you. In foolishness, if you go out and run after the mirage in the desert, you'll never find any water to have a swim. All right, that's the truth of the world. The world is all empty. Sri Ramakrishna says this world is a mixture of sugar and sand. Be like an ant that can take the sugar and leave the sand aside. That's where the discrimination power comes. That buddhi is able to discriminate between what is real, what is unreal. We sing asatoma, sadagamaya, and all that. Think about the meaning of that prayer, and then you'll get a direction where to seek for it. See, we're all seeking for happiness, we're seeking for knowledge, we're seeking for peace, we're seeking for freedom, we're seeking for all these things. There's nothing wrong with that seeking. Only problem is we're seeking it in the wrong place, outside, in the changing world. We get it, it slips out, because by nature it is changing. The only place it is permanent is within you. Be smart like Nachiketa. When Yamraj offered him all the wonderful things, the very long life and enjoyment and kingdom, that 7-year boy had what is called spiritual intelligence. And he says, all this is temporary. You keep your dancing and music to yourself. Tell me about that where there's no death. So that is how the Kathopanishad teaches us that. These are all there in our scriptures. But dive back into the read Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna, Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. You'll find 50-70% of your questions will get sorted out there. The rest, if you need some practical guidance, then reach out to us.
Any more questions? Yes. So, any more questions? If anybody has, then you may unmute yourself or raise your hand and ask.
There are some names that I can recognize, but I can't see their faces. Let me, Kumar Shaurav, Pratyush, put your cameras on.
I'm right here.
Yes, good. How are you?
Good,
And
Maharaj.
Kumar Shaurav?
I will like to call you again one of these days, if possible.
Yeah, one of those days. When will that one of those days you'll be there?
If you like today, is
Today is a bit
May-
late here.
so
Ah,
tomorrow, if you are free tomorrow, I'd like to call you tomorrow then.
tomorrow, you text me a time.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. So it's nice to hear from you guys and see some of you and connect. But if you want to know more about what Vedanta and spiritual things, meditation, japa, and all that, how they can help you, I'm sorry we did not. When I was there with you guys in Vidyapit, we didn't pay so much and didn't teach you all these things in meditation. We left it to our senior swamis to decide. But you'll see that video that we have shared with you. We did a project in Fiji. We built a meditation center. All the students, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, all meditate. Wonderful results. And another project is there in Brisbane that is happening. We got some experience now, and we can share that with you for you and your family, and so you can reach out. But join some of those classes on Vedanta.nz, and that way we can always be in touch.
Maharaj, sorry to come in. There is one last question by our Shubhamoy. He has kindly requested if Shubhamoy, why don't you ask yourself?
Yes. Let me see your face.
Of course, Maharaj. Can you see me?
Yes. What's your question?
Hello, Pranam Maharaj. So, I have started some spiritual practices, and after starting those, I have realized that the number of questions I had before have drastically decreased. Which again, what you said also start reading into, just start this journey of making yourself aware with what kind of spiritual knowledge is out there. But there's one question that I always get stuck because it's about personal responsibility and accountability. Like this journey, like the journey of the I, the reincarnations that you have to reach somewhere. Did I start this billions of years or millions of years back? Like, was this my active choice? I want to start this. Or like I was nowhere, I was an iota of nothingness. And then something happened due to some higher power. I was given this journey, and now I have to take the responsibility of some higher power's decision to give me this life. So I'm very I can't find a solution to this question. Like, how did this happen? Should I take the responsibility? Is it the I who has chosen this life, this journey, or it just happened and now I have to pay the prices of whatever sins or goodness, whatever it is that happens, So if you can just give me some ideas or some sources which I can read, or if you have some answers, it would be really helpful for me because I really struggle with it a lot.
Okay, so look at the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna is a person who thinks that he's going to make some choices, the choice to fight or not, and upon that will depend the outcome of the war. And of course, so many people will be killed, there will be so much bloodshed, there will be so many orphans, there will be so many widows, and all those things. So he gives in the beginning of the chapter the consequences, and he has a very strong sense of doership. I am the doer, and the results will come to him. That is the state of ignorance, spiritual ignorance. The ego is there, but ego thinks it is an independent entity and therefore has a sense of responsibility and accountability and all those things. Then what is the solution? In the Bhagavad Gita again, Shri Krishna says, look, my friend, you suffer from this ignorance. What is that? Ahamkara vimoodatma karta aham iti manyate. A deluded person, vimoodatma, has got this ahamkar, ego. What is that? Karta aham, I am the doer. And so Shri Krishna says, that is your problem, that you think you are the doer. Really, I am the antaryami, I am the inner controller. I reside in the heart of all beings, and I pull the string and everyone dances to the music. And right through the end, he talks about that. And at the end, he says, look, my friend, know that the divine Ishvara dwells in the heart of all beings. All beings are like machines mounted on the wheel, and as they are turned, they spin. So what's the answer? Tameva Sharanam Gacha Sarva Bhavena Bharata. Take refuge in that Supreme Being, and by His grace, you will be freed from this ignorance. So the way to do this, visualize yourself, is to establish a relationship with the divine. Then things will fall in place. Imagine the divine God, Ishvara, as the ocean. Out of that ocean, millions of waves appear. You and I are a different wave. Where did we come from? From the ocean. By whom are we sustained? By that ocean. Where do we go? To that ocean. But if the wave doesn't acknowledge the presence of the ocean or doesn't have a direct connection, it thinks it's an independent being, then that's the ego. And then it suffers from this success and failure, all those things that come in his life. And that is what is called spiritual ignorance. So in meditation and all that, we develop that capacity to integrate try to bring that knowledge into our knowledge, means to bring that element of the ocean into our everyday life. All right, always being aware that there's a divine presence behind this whole universe, which is God. Yes, it works through me, its energy and power flows through me, but I'm not the source. I'm only an instrument in the hands of the divine. That is what Sri Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna. Nimitte matram bhava savyasaj. Be an instrument in the hands of the divine. So the approaches can be different. So Sri Ramakrishna will tell all this. Establish a relationship with the divine, between the wave and the ocean. What is that? God is the divine mother, I am the child. That's one of the most beautiful, simple. The other one is, the Lord is the master, I am the servant, like Mahavira, Hanuman, and Rama. Okay, any of this relationship. But somehow or the other, be connected to that. You'll find that will be like a great shock absorber in your life. When blows and things will come, just like when you're driving a car, the shock is transferred. But if you don't have anything saying that understanding of that deeper background, then you have to cop the whole effect. So their sense of responsibility will come, then you will feel that I've done a good job or I've left others down, and then you suffer from that. So ignorance is all the cause of all misery, spiritual ignorance here. How do we integrate ourselves? The question of about misery, responsibility, all that is question of our perspective. Somebody went to Sri Ramakrishna and asked him, why is there so much suffering and misery in the world? Disease, wars, and all that. Sri Ramakrishna could have said that, look, hey, as you sow, so you shall reap. As you do your karma, so it will come to you. You are reborn and this and that. That is one type of explanation that many people will give. He did not give that explanation. He said, he took it to the next level. He said, look, it's all a display of the divine. Okay, it's all the Leela. He brings in the element of the Supreme behind all the waves and saying that that divine being pulls a string, and from its perspective, its play, from your perspective, it is terrible. So this person questions him again. He says, well, if it's his play and he's having fun, why should I suffer? You see, he's not ready to relinquish his ego and doership, and wants to maintain that separation. And then Sri Ramakrishna doesn't answer the question from level 2. He takes it to level 3. Level 3, he says, but who are you? It's all he. So if the wave asks the ocean, like a jiva asks the Supreme Being, why are you playing? He says, my sweet will. I can have 1 billion waves, I can have no waves. If you are aware of my presence, then you know I'm acting through you. But if you do not know, then you suffer under the ignorance, and that's where this happens. So, here I've given a few examples to illustrate how we can have a more integrated perspective where we learn how we are connected to some higher power. And then when you're connected in the proper way, you'll find that life becomes much easier. Say, Sri Ramakrishna, my Holy Mother says, the mother cat holds the kitten in one way and the mouse in another way. You choose whether you want to be the kitten or the mouse. It means how you relate to that divine being. He can make things open the way, everything falls in place, everything is beautiful. But when you step out of the way, then you get whacked around a little bit to bring you in line. Make sense?
Yes, it does, Maharaj. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. Think
Thank you.
divine grace is not properly understood, you know. We think God's grace is when He fulfills all our material things, you know, give us health, give us money, give us wife, children, this thing. Then we say, oh, Swamiji, by God's grace, everything is nice, everything is beautiful. But He has deluded you with all these little toys. You know, when children are young, I tell this story, they play with little toys. Girls play with dolls and boys play with little cars. And when you're grown up, then they have got the real dolls and you've got the real cars. Yeah? Swami Vivekananda says, mustache babies. Most of you are in that category there. Okay, still playing with these dolls. So at the end of the day, if the child is still playing and mother wants to call them home, she will come and break a few toys so that you abandon that play and go to her. Sometimes we don't understand that and we cry, give me another toy. See, so this is how it is. Most people in this world, we get attached to things and then we can't detach ourselves from them. But anyway, this is not in one discussion, it can be sorted out maybe, you know. Keep in touch and we'll try to see what we can do to help you.
Sure. Sure, Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you, Vasanthi, so much.
So I think we have taken all the questions that were there, and we are already 2 hours into the session. So
Oh, so long, eh?
yes, so I think in case anybody has further questions and maybe some clarifications, they can directly reach out to Maharaj.
I have one question. Maharaj, what's the time there? You're in Fiji right now.
No, I'm in New Zealand. So my New Zealand
Right.
time is quarter past, I think, 11 night.
In the night.
Yes, so I think that also shows that Maharaj has it's an odd hour to actually have a long session. So I think it's time we wind it up. And first of all, thank you, Maharaj, for your time. And you have elaborated upon various aspects of mental well-being in the first half, and then taken up a lot of queries, mostly personal and some generic ones. And I hope everybody who has attended the session will benefit, and everybody who will watch it over the internet over time will also benefit from the session. And I think because we had a lot of questions, and we could take a lot of them, and maybe people who have some unanswered queries and maybe could not ask today, they can reach out further to you for further guidance. So thank you once again for your time and effort that it has taken today. Thank you, Maharaj.
Most welcome. Thank you. Nice meeting you all. And let us keep in touch. I will be away in Fiji for 2 weeks, but I'm available on WhatsApp. And if you want to have more sessions like this, or we can always organize for those who are interested at a convenient time. Just keep in mind that in New Zealand, we are 6.5 hours ahead of you. So we'll have to find a suitable time. Thank you very much. We'll keep in touch.